Two bitter political rivals stood on a stage in Kingston, Jamaica. For years, their supporters had been fighting in the streets. Neighborhoods were divided, violence was spreading. And yet somehow, in front of thousands of people, one man managed to bring them together. That man was Bob Marley. But the moment that stunned the world almost never happened. Just 2 years earlier, gunmen broke into Marley's home and opened fire. To understand how Jamaica reached that moment and why it mattered, we have to go back. When most Americans think about Jamaica, they tend to imagine beach resorts, reggae music, ganja, maybe even the Jamaican bobsled team. What many people don't realize is that during the Cold War, Jamaica became a surprisingly important battleground for global influence. For such a small Caribbean island, stakes were enormous. The United States feared Jamaica might follow the path of its neighbor Cuba and align itself with the Soviet Union and the Communist bloc. Political factions soon divided the neighborhood across the country. Before long, violence began erupting in the streets. Supporters of rival parties clashed in communities throughout the island, and Jamaica found itself gripped by a wave of political turmoil. At the center of Jamaican politics were two powerful figures, Michael Manley and Edward Seaga. Manley promoted democratic socialism and maintained close ties with Cuba. Seaga positioned himself as a strong ally of the United States. In the middle of the Cold War, that divide meant far more than ordinary politics. Soon, neighborhoods across Kingston became aligned with one party or the other. Armed political gangs formed, and violence began spreading across the country. But the violence wasn't new. 2 years earlier, in 1976, there had already been another concert meant to unite the people of Jamaica. It was called the Smile Jamaica Concert. All the biggest musical acts on the island were scheduled to perform. But just days before the concert, gunmen broke into Bob Marley's home and opened fire. Marley and the Wailers were rehearsing inside Bob's home at 56 Hope Road in Kingston. Guitars leaned up against the wall. Amplifiers hummed softly. The group took a short break. Bob stepped over into the kitchen for a snack, a grapefruit. He sliced it open and reached for a spoon. Then, gunmen burst into his house and opened fire. Bob, his wife Rita, and his manager Don Taylor were all hit. Bob was shot in the arm and the chest, but he survived. Rita Marley was struck in the head, but miraculously survived. Don Taylor was shot multiple times and left permanently injured. The prevailing theory was that someone powerful did not want Bob to perform, did not want him to unite the people of Jamaica. But no clear evidence has ever definitively proven who ordered the attack. In the days after the shooting, many urged Bob to cancel the concert. Doctors warned him the wounds were still too fresh, but Bob refused. He famously said, "The people trying to make this world worse aren't taking the day off. Why should I?" Only 2 days after the shooting, Bob Marley performed, under heavy security. Some accounts say members of that security detail carried weapons inside guitar cases. When Marley stepped to the front of the stage and revealed the fresh gunshot wounds he had taken only days earlier, the crowd erupted. For many watching that night, Bob Marley was no longer just a musician. He had become something more. After the concert, Bob left Jamaica. He went into exile in London. It was there that he recorded what many consider his greatest album, Exodus. The album would later be named by Time magazine as the greatest album of the 20th century. Eventually, Marley did return to Jamaica in 1978. That same year, he released another beloved album, Kaya. But by the time he returned home, the violence in Jamaica had only gotten worse. Thousands had died. Every election cycle stirred new waves of political violence. Jamaica's two major political parties remained locked in a bitter struggle for power. Gangs controlled entire communities, and many feared the island was sliding toward chaos. When it seemed as if nothing could calm the violence, promoters proposed a bold idea: a free concert. A concert meant to bring Jamaica together. It would be called the One Love Peace Concert. But there was one major problem. The concert needed Bob Marley. And Marley was no longer living in Jamaica. Many people close to him believed returning to the island was simply too dangerous. He had already survived one assassination attempt. But eventually, Bob agreed to return. The concert itself was organized with help from rival political enforcers. Claudie Massop aligned with the Jamaica Labour Party, and Bucky Marshall aligned with the People's National Party. Within a few years, both men themselves would be killed in the same cycle of political violence gripping Jamaica. The concert lasted all night. A who's who of reggae performers appeared, including Peter Tosh, Jacob Miller, Dennis Brown, Culture, Inner Circle, Big Youth, Dillinger, Trinity, and Althea and Donna. Thousands packed into Kingston's National Stadium. They were waiting for one man, Bob Marley. Sometime well after midnight, Bob Marley finally took the stage. As he often did, he opened with a chant invoking the Lion of Judah. Then he launched into a powerful set of songs, including Natty Dread, Trenchtown Rock, Natural Mystic, Positive Vibration, and War. Then he signaled for the band to begin jamming. It was during this song that Marley appeared to enter one of those trance-like states that often overtook him on stage. His dancing slowed. He gripped the microphone. His eyes closed. Then he looked upward. Halfway through the song, he broke from the lyrics and made an unexpected request. He asked for the presence of Mr. Michael Manley and Mr. Edward Siaga. The crowd was stunned. Did he really just say that? He did. Both men were in attendance that night. The rival political leaders whose political war had helped push Jamaica toward bloodshed. Slowly, they made their way to the stage. Bob took their hands and raised them above his head. Then, he declared, "Love, prosperity, be with us all. Jah Rastafari." The crowd erupted. For one unforgettable moment, peace seemed possible. The image of Bob Marley standing between two men quickly became one of the most famous photographs in modern history. Band art director Neville Garrick later compared the moment to Christ on the cross between two thieves. For a moment, it seemed music had done what politics could not. But the violence in Jamaica did not end that night. Political killings continued. In fact, the election violence of 1980 would become the deadliest in Jamaican history. Within a few years, both Claudie Massop and Bucky Marshall would themselves be killed. So the concert did not end Jamaica's political war. But something real still happened that night. For a few hours inside Kingston's National Stadium, rivals stood together. Enemies sang the same songs. And one man reminded an entire nation who they were. Only 3 years after that night, Bob Marley would be gone. In 1981, at just 36 years old, the man who carried Jamaica's voice to the world died of cancer. Gone from this realm, but the music remained. The message remained. And the image of that night in Kingston still lives on. One man standing between two rivals, hands raised in the air. For one night in Kingston, Jamaica stood together. If you're still here, thanks. I've got more stories like this that are history books left out. Your homework is to drop a like and hit subscribe. Share with someone else who wants to hear real stories. And welcome to the Underground Syllabus.